This episode of DanDee Rocks is brought to you by Cab King, the industry leader in cabbing equipment.
On this project here, what we've got here, this is a belt buckle. It's a nice horseshoe belt buckle, brass, and it's got a nice tiger eye cabochon in the center, which is really nice. And what this guy has asked me to do is he wants me to inset 8 cabochons into there. But what's going to make these unique is their teeth, elk teeth. That's coming up today. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just basically cutting these guys down to a decent size here. I might be able to get 1, maybe 2 out of each one of these. So I don't have to use them all, but I'm just taking off the little junky part here that it's too thin to use, and I really want to get the meat of the tooth up here. So I'm going to use my Gemini saw and just kind of trim them to shape, and then we're going to start shaping them. Alright, so now I've got them cut. So I got to flatten an edge out. I'm going to flatten an edge out so I can get my cab size on there. And basically they're going to be 11 by 9s. I might have to do a little trimming, but I want a good tight fit so we get a good nice look in that and they don't come popping out. So we're going to go with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn on the Cab King, and we're going to flatten the sides so we can dop it. There we go. Now I'm using my flat lap just to get a nice flat surface here, and then I'll check it with my stencil and make sure I've got enough there, a little extra just in case, to get myself a nice cab out of that. That looks pretty good. So we'll go with that and do the rest of them. Alright, so now I got my one side flattened out, and I've traced on my cabochon, and now what we're going to do is we're going to attach a little dowel to it. And I know I cut them a little short, but I really don't need a whole lot of room to work with, so I wanted to work with something like this, a little more precise. So I'm just going to glue these on, and we'll start shaping them. Alright, so now I've got them all rounded into shape, so we're going to start forming them. But I want to give you guys a quick tip here. When you're working with a piece that's got multiple pieces, it's best to do them all on the same wheel. So do all 8, all 8, all 8, all 8, all 8, all 8. It just saves you a lot of time and hassle. You know, instead of going through all, go back and do them all again. So just a quick tip. Alright, so now our teeth are fully polished. They all come out pretty nice. Came out really nice. We'll give them a quick steam. that just gets off any cerium oxide that might be stuck in any little crevices or pits or anything like that. Gives it a good clean. The ultrasonic does a really good job at that too. Let's get these cleaned up. Alright, so now got our teeth off the top. We're going to get them moved over to the bench. I'm going to put them in my little work tray here. It's always good to have a little tray like this. A lot of jewelers use them for keeping their stones or whatever you're working on in a safe place so you know where it's at. A lot of times our benches get a little miscombobulated when you're doing a lot of projects. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, and here's where my inlays are going to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, and they have an enameling in there. So what I'm going to do in the ovals, I'm going to take out the enamel, make sure everything fits right, and get it nice and seated so I can epoxy them in. And it'll give it a nice cleanup and everything too. I'll also, before I start, I'm going to take off, it's only on screws, the bezel there. And he's going to mount this on a leather hat. So I'm going to take the buckle part off. We're going to keep this on because he can use this for mounting it on the hat. But we can take the swivel off.
So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cabochon off, the tiger eye. It's just held on with 2 screws in the back. The next step is I'm going to use a ball burr to remove the enamel from inside where I'm putting the cabochons. Now I'm leaving the enameling, some of the enameling in there to give it a little bit of contrast and give it a nice little detail to it. I'm starting with pretty much a medium-sized burr, 2.5 millimeter. And that's just basically to get out the biggest part in the center. And then I'm going to go back over it with smaller burrs to clean up the details. Take your time and go over every detail as best you can. Make sure we get all the enamel out there so that when we epoxy in the new cabochons, they got a nice seat. Also, when you're using a ball burr, it's always nice to have a nice brush around to get out all the little debris that's left behind. And now we're ready to inlay our elk teeth. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our epoxy resin together. I'm using a 2-part epoxy resin, DevCon, and basically want to squeeze out equal parts and then mix them together. You don't want to bring out a whole lot at once because probably aren't going to have enough time to get them all set before it starts setting up on you. So do a little bit at a time and then go back and make up some more. So now what we're doing is use your toothpick, pick up a little bit of the epoxy and put it inside the cavity, just a little bit. You don't want to have so much that it's oozing out over the sides, but you want to get just a slight bit of ooze. As the epoxy is going to set, it's going to draw back in kind of tight. The other thing I'm using, it's a burr that has a piece of clay on the end of it that's moldable. And what that does is it allows me to pick up the cabochons without actually using my fingers or a pair of tweezers. And I can pick it up from the top and set it in from the top. Now I'm just using my finger to push in a little bit to see how well the epoxy is oozing around the edges to make sure I've got enough that's going to hold the stone in nice and tight.
All right, so here it is. All our teeth are inlaid. Everybody's nice and secure. So now we gotta do is reattach the cabochon, and they just had it back set. I'll give it a nice polish. You know, just a couple screws. Finish her off. Well, that was a fun project, and unfortunately, when you're a jewelry designer, in my career, I get a lot of really interesting things to do. That's the fun about it. Is one of the joys that I have as being a designer is actually doing things that no one's done before, being able to overcome obstacles, being able to solve problems. That's why we're craftsmen. That's why we're artists. Is that, you know, we kind of push the envelope and try to do things like that. But this was definitely a lot of fun. And I hope he really enjoys it. So, and I hope you guys did too. And if you guys had a great time, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please hit that button, subscribe. We really, really are trying to get back in the groove and really start producing more episodes. So we look forward to seeing you guys at the next episode, which is actually working in the background right here. So it'll be coming up soon. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time on DanDee Rocks.